Hello, investors and traders, and welcome to the Midweek Report. I'm AJ Monte, Chief Market Strategist with Sticky Trades. And before we get into the charts, please remember that on Friday, the markets are closed at 1 o'clock. So we have a half a day of trading. That will be a low volume day, so we can't really read into the volume too far. We'll have to see how the volume works out on Monday and Tuesday to get a more accurate read on that. And also, please stay tuned to the very end because we have a Black Friday special for those interested in a 15-day free trial of our services. So now let's get to the charts. Looking at DIA, you can see we did have an increase in volume on that green candle. I think the bulls are going to try to push to resistance, and then we'll have to keep an eye on that volume next week to see whether or not we get the pivot. Right now, we do not have a pivot. Yesterday, we had a bearish harami. That's more or less a half signal. We do not have a full pivot here, so we're waiting for that to occur. But we do have a negative divergence on the CCI down here. We see a higher price high, but we see lower highs on the CCI. So again, a little bit of a push into Friday, and then I'll go back and draw my targets for next week on Friday's weekly market report. Now let's look at IWM. It's going to be slightly different with the volume. You can see we do have a drop in volume on IWM. We have this very close to a doji, which is a sign of indecision. We have a negative divergence on the CCI, gap below the market. This is still waiting for a pullback here. I am keeping that longer term target in place at 164.98, but we'll have to maybe readjust that on Friday to give a gap fill reading on that first. Obviously, the gap has to fill before we can hit that downside target and to fill the rest of the gaps. So that is IWM. Looking at QQQ, we have a spinning top / shooting star on very, very slight drop in volume. Not much to speak about, but we do have a cross sell signal on the stochastic, and we do have a negative divergence that is still holding with lower highs on the CCI. Now, some might say, oh, we're back in a bull market. I would strongly disagree with that. Do we have an up leg? Yes, we do, but that is not a bull market. Look at the weekly chart. We have a long way to go to get over those highs. A definition of a long-term trend is higher highs followed by higher lows. We have an up leg here, and looking at that green stretch right there, 4 weeks in a row. Look at the size of these candles, how they're getting smaller and smaller. That's a sign of weakness, not a sign of strength. And we have this wide divergence between the K and the D on the weekly for the Qs. So I'm still keeping that downside target there. And let's move right on to SPY. I have given a guarantee on SPY, and that is for this gap right there. That is known as an exhaustion gap. Go back to last week's report so you can see how I described that based on textbook examples of what 3 gaps in a row look like. We have the breakaway gap, the runaway gap, the exhaustion gap. 100% of exhaustion gaps fill eventually. In the stocks that have high or good liquidity, it's not the case for stocks that are illiquid or have low volume trading. That is not the case at all. But for an ETF or an index like this, that is the case. So I'm putting a guarantee that ultimately that will fill. So what does that mean for the bulls? Be careful. It means trail your stops up. It means protect any profits that you might have. Some may think that I'm a perma bear, but if you are a member of our trade services, you will know that we have been taking long positions and doing very well. In fact, 2 positions went out today in spreads that we're trading, and we're doing extremely well in those. I can't give the ticker symbols away because that's reserved for members only. But for those of you that are interested in the 15-day free trial, you'll be able to go back and look at those trades on our member blotter, and you'll be able to pick up on that and learn in that short period of time while you're checking out our site for 15 days. So that is SPY. I do believe that we're going to see on Friday a slight pullback, possibly a pivot point forming here, and then that will bring us into next week. A lot is hinging on what we see with the Black Friday numbers. As I mentioned last week, there was a survey taken. 53% of shoppers say they're not participating on Black Friday. That could put a crimp in those sales numbers and have a negative effect on the market. We'll have to see. But as far as the VIX, we are approaching all-time record lows. Let me say that again. All-time record lows. Since the VIX has been created, we are on this support level down here. You see this? We're on this support level right now. That is, since the VIX has been created. I say that one more time. We are on all-time lows. Now, that is not, in my book, that is not the time to be taking long positions. Again, for those who are long and may have profits built into some of your positions, that is a warning flag that the VIX is telling us that it could very well rally from here off of the historic lows. And so with that said, we have that very small red candle. We have this wide divergence from the moving average. I still have an open gap above the market that will fill. That will fill at 1663 is the price on that. And so that's what I'm looking at for the VIX. Now I want to talk a little bit about SLV because on X, formerly known as Twitter, I put my trades out before I actually make the trade. So I'm giving the public a chance to make money or get in before I do, unlike a lot of the analysts that get on these financial programs. They take a huge position and then tout it on these financial shows to get the audience to move the market in their favor. I don't do that. I can do that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm giving you the benefit here. And so if you look at the chart on SLV, I'm out of the position by 5%. I'm still in a 95% position with some cash available. I'm waiting for SLV to drop. We do have a pivot point today. I do think it's going to drop. I can't say that that's my absolute target of $20.77. But when it gets into that area right there, you might mark that as an alert to go, hey, let's go check the Twitter page to see what AJ's doing at that level. I'm looking for a possible gap fill down here. I do not have a limit buy order that I'm working. I am looking for that to take place before I put my buy order in, but I will absolutely let you know about that. Now, finally, looking at our member page, you have a 15-day trial available to you for Black Friday. This is a simple process where you just go and click here to get started. You fill out some information. You will have access to the trade services that we have here, and we have these listed. You'll have access and you'll be able to see the courses that we have. And we have some big announcements coming up. Make sure that you are following along when we bring on my good trading buddy, Greg Montwill. Greg and I stayed in the trading pits. We stood side by side as we traded silver, and he will be joining the team setting up a trading room. I'll tell you more about that as we get closer to the launch for Greg's services. So first and foremost, and I'm going to wrap up on the most important thing that I want to talk about, and that's quality of life and time with your family. What we try to do is we teach people how to pull away from the computer, pull away from the trading, put your positions on, walk away, have a great life, enjoy your life with your family, and then come back and trade and manage your positions. That's a quality of life that we continue to promote, and that's what we're all about here. So again, happy Thanksgiving. I'll talk to you on Friday on the Weekly Market Report. So long.